everyone, so we're just going to jump straight into this. So I'm starting off by combing my eyebrow hairs all the way down, and then I'm just taking Pritt stick and I'm just gluing them down. You can of course use eyebrow wax or something like that, but this is what I had to hand. So then I'm just smoothing over that Pritt stick and then allowing it to dry for a couple of seconds and then going back over to stick them in place. Then I've got my Kevyn Aucoin Central Skin Enhancer Concealer, and this is a really good heavy duty concealer, so I'm just patting this over my brow to cover it up. The reason I'm using quite a thick concealer is because I've got really dark hair and quite thick hair on my brows, so yeah, I wanted to cover it up as much as possible. Then I've got my MAC Studio Fix powder, so this is just a face setting powder, and I'm just patting over my brow with this to set it all in place, and that's what I look like without brows. And then I've got this kind of rusty orangey face paint by the brand Smithies. I will leave it all down below, but yeah, I'm just using a C sponge to pat this all over my face and my body to create that really nasty kind of texturized look. And then taking a dark brown and a white mixed together, I'm just doing the same again and patting this all over. If you're not as tanned as me, I would suggest maybe going in with a bit of a darker foundation first and then doing these steps that I'm showing you. So then we're just going to highlight a little bit, and we're going to take that white face paint again on the C sponge and take this in the usual areas that you would highlight, so under the eyes, down the bridge of the nose, on the forehead, and then I'm just patting it and blending it out a little bit with another sponge. Then just using the darker brown face paint only, I'm again using the C sponge because we want a texturized makeup look, and I'm just going to contour, so I'm just doing it in the hollows of my cheeks, on my temples, and down the sides of my nose as well. I'm also just patting this over my eyelids, and I'm just going back over any areas again to create a bit of a texturized look. And then just taking that same dark brown face paint all over the rest of my body, and then going back in to reinforce that under eye highlight. It just makes this look a bit more realistic and 3D, so yeah, that is why I am doing that. And then I've got my sleek Au Natural eyeshadow palette, and I'm taking this dark brown shade, and I really like it because it's quite a cool toned brown, and just on an angled brush I'm just kind of mapping out where I want my stitch lines to be for my doll. So I'm creating a smile down the middle of my face, and then just on my body as well. Do not worry about lines being perfectly straight, they're not actually supposed to be, so don't worry. And then I just drew on a heart as well, because I'm going to pretend there's hearts there. And then what I'm doing is I'm just pulling out that eyeshadow to create a bit of a shadow, basically, to make it look a bit more real. So what I'm doing is I'm going back in with a little bit more brown eyeshadow if I need to, and then again, as you can see, just pulling it out to create more of a shadow. You just want to do this on all of the lines that you have already mapped out, and you can see it will start to look a little bit more realistic as you do it. You can also go back in with a fluffy blending brush, as I did, to soften it up as well and to make it look more blended and more like a shadow. So once that's done, you're just going to go back in on those lines, and you're going to take the black eyeshadow from the palette, or any black eyeshadow for that matter, and you're just going to go back over those lines just to create a bit more depth. And then you just want to repeat the step that you previously did. So you just want to pull out that shadow. So you can use a bit more of the brown eyeshadow to help you get a deeper and darker shadow if you like, or you can just go in with a clean angled brush and just pull out that black eyeshadow, but I went in with a little bit more brown eyeshadow, and you can see it's starting to look a little bit more real, and as if those stitches are kind of really worn and torn in. Then I've got my black face paint, and I'm just going to go over those lines once again, just to reinforce those black lines and those black stitches, again just to create a bit more depth. And then for the fun part, so we're going to add the stitches now. So just with the white face paint, I'm just going to add like diagonal lines and crosses in any which way you want, in any kind of order or pattern, and this is going to go along all of the lines that we have already laid out. You can make the lines and crosses as big or as little as you want. I made them a little bit more like medium size on the face, and then slightly bigger just over my body. Have fun with it though, I love this bit. So then I'm just taking the red face paint, and I'm just going to colour and fill in the heart that is on my chest. So I'm just using a slightly larger brush to do this, and I got my brushes for face paint from an arts and crafts store from Hobbycraft. So yeah, I didn't use like my normal face brushes for the face paints, and it was super cheap, and you don't have to worry about them getting ruined or anything. And then I'm just going back around the heart with the black face paint again to bring it more to life, and then going back in with the brown eyeshadow to create more shadow and depth around that heart as well, and just blending it out. You then want to create your little stitch marks on your heart as well, because they have also been sewn onto your chest. And then just going back in with the brown eyeshadow, what I'm doing on a smaller brush, I'm just going around each and every single one of the lines, and what this is going to do is, again, it's just going to make it pop out and make it look a bit more realistic. So it's not as if they're like flat on your face, it's like there's a shadow behind it. So all you want to keep doing is every time you do something, create a shadow, and it just makes it look a lot more realistic. So I'm just going around all of the stitch marks that I have created. And then with a black eyeshadow, I'm creating like a half moon crescent on the end of each of the stitches on every single one of them. And again, what it's going to do is it's going to make it look like kind of like a stitch hole, and just making it look a little bit more real. And all these little things honestly make such a big difference. Don't worry if it goes onto the stitching, like the black eyeshadow goes onto the stitching a little bit, it's absolutely fine. Again, it's just going to look like a deeper shadow, so it's no problem whatsoever. And then again, just creating some more shadow just along the heart, just to make it look a little bit more realistic. And yeah, that is the whole purpose and point of this. It's quite difficult when you're doing face paint and stuff like that. You just want to bring the character to life, so shadows are the way to go. So for the eyes, we're going to create large buttons as our eyes. So I am taking my black face paint and just painting on a large circle onto my eye, and then colouring it in. We obviously don't want any kind of creasing, so I'm just setting that in place with some black eyeshadow, and then on a really small detailer brush with my white face paint, I'm just drawing on 2 lines down the center of the circle, and that's going to be like the buttonholes. And then guess what I'm doing? Yep, you guessed it right. I'm adding shadow. So I'm just taking that same brown eyeshadow that I've used in this whole tutorial and taking it round the button of the eyes. And then on a fluffy blending brush, I'm just going to take it along my lower lash line as well. And then after that, finally, just to make this look a bit more textured and like a raggedy doll, I'm just taking the brown face paint and I'm just creating rough kind of strokes and streaky marks just on the edges of my face. And I'm also going to take this along my shoulders as well and a bit on my body. Don't worry about it being neat at all, it's meant to be messy, so yeah, the more rough the lines, the better. And then finally, just taking the same concealer that I used earlier on my brows, and I'm just going to pat this all over my lips to kind of dead them out a little bit. And then that is the finished look, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you all in my next video. Happy Halloween!